For 3 years after I stopped drinking, I pleaded to God to remove me from that business. I'd pray and pray. It seemed like the response was always the same. My grace is sufficient. My grace is sufficient. It was about this point in time that the depth of step 3 really surfaced to me. After all, had I not made a decision to turn my will, my life over to God's care? I remained sober, and the bar community had accepted and embraced the new man I'd become. I went to God again, and my conscience became content with his choice. I agreed from that point on, God was my employer. I no longer cared what bar or position I worked at, or who he assigned to write my payroll checks, because I worked for him. God became my boss. As with the Apostle Paul, he used my weaknesses for his own strengths. He not only did this in recovery programs, but he was doing it in the bars as well. I didn't preach recovery in the bars. People simply saw the changes within me. God was touching people all around me. I so appreciate the change that has taken place in my life. The gift God gave me of first-hand knowledge of witnessing the bar life that I truly loved with a clean and sober mind. God's gift of an education which could never have been learned from books or lectures. His grace had become more than sufficient. It's truly awesome how he cares for me. I'm not a unique individual. I love Jesus Christ. He is my Lord and Savior. He is also my higher power. It is through his strength that I am able to maintain on a day-to-day basis. So much of my life has been foolish. I have felt so much foolishness in my life, brought down by moments of despair and deep depression, all about being foolish. Yet things that I could not control and could not stop. What is foolishness? Seems we always feel foolish after the fact. We don't feel foolish before or during. It's always after the fact. So, what is the fact? The fact is going against our conscience. We begin with self-pity. We become discontent, sad, and gloomy, which makes us unhappy. We try to create something to make us happy or feel better. We try to find happiness. Have you ever been down in the dumps? So to cheer yourself up, you rationalize buying something for yourself to make you feel happy again. Only to find out a week or so later, an unexpected bill would arrive. Because you already spent your money trying to make yourself happy, you couldn't pay the bill. Now you're not only unhappy, but you feel foolish too. Well, the fact is, you swindled your conscience into trying to buy happiness. My acronym is FOOLISH. F-O-O-L-I-S-H. Finding out our lesson in seeking happiness. Webster defines the word fool as silly or empty-headed person, simpleton, jester, a clown, or a dupe. Webster defines the term dupe as victim of delusion or sharp practice, to deceive for an advantage. Foolishness is going against our conscience. What is conscience? Webster defines conscience as a mental sense of right and wrong. Look at the word conscience. It starts with con, which is to trick or swindle. followed by the word science. Science is a systematic knowledge or study concerning with observing material facts. We trick ourselves into a systematic knowledge of observing facts. My acronym is conscience. C-O-N-S-C-I-E-N-C-E. Commitment of now seeking Christ in each new choice experience. Conscience has to do with knowing the difference between right and wrong. Knowing the difference between what's right and wrong. Cartoons sometimes show us this individual that has the devil on one shoulder and an angel on the other. Our natural tendency is to feel devilish. Seldom do we view ourselves as angelic. We look on one shoulder and there's the angel. We look on the other shoulder and there's the devil. Trying to decide what's right and what's wrong. Trying to make decisions. Should we or shouldn't we? Deciding what's right and what's wrong. Romans 2:14 through 15. Even though they never had God's written laws, for down in their hearts they knew right from wrong. God's laws are written within them. Their own conscience accuses them or excuses them. We play this game with the devil and the angel on one shoulder or the other. We know the difference between right and wrong. Why do we make it such a challenge? Why do we make it so difficult to make the decision? My suggestion is to practice replacing the image of the devil on one shoulder and Jesus Christ on the other, not an angel. Put Jesus Christ on one shoulder and the devil on the other one. See how much simpler the choice becomes. The debate and the question seems to disappear. When I look on my left shoulder and I see an angel, that's one thing. But when I look on my left shoulder and I see Jesus Christ, well, there's no doubt what's right. We have to turn ourselves over to God first before we can ever get to the remaining steps. That's very important because guess what? Step 4 is when we come to a realization of who we really are. We need to put our life, our will, and our care into God's hands before we get a true definition of who we are. Make a decision and turn your will and your life over to the care of God as you understand Him.